Okay, so welcome to another class, process and design. We talk about process and design. There's nothing really much to talk about here, but I'm just going to just hit a few points and then that'll be it. So every website should be designed for the target audience, not just for yourself or the site owner. It is therefore very important to understand who your target audience is. So you should know all these about your target audience. What is the age? Your site appeal to men, more men or women? What is the mix? Which country do your visitors live in? And all that. The company, find out the size of the company, the position of people in the company, and all that. So all these matter because the site you're developing is not actually for you, it's for your clients. Or let's say you're not doing it for your client, but it's a site that you want people to interact with. So that's your target audience. So you should make sure that whatever it is the website is talking about is appealing to the right audience. So for instance, let's say I want to, so I would suggest you guys read up all this because this is just basically all about reading. But let's say you want to design a website for kids, right? You're designing a website that kids will get to view, or maybe a website for, let's say, yeah, definitely kids, and maybe it's about games for kids or whatever. By default, your target audience is just going to be kids. So it's not expected you use like very mature colors, like maybe monochrome sort of colors like black or white or stuff like that. You definitely have to play around with colors, pink, purple, yellow, colors that will be catchy because that's your target audience. So not like playing around with so much colors and messing everywhere up, but you already know your audience, so you don't need to do something that would look so cool or mature or something, but something that is appealing that once a child sees, he will want to play on your website or see what the website is talking about, and also your website is targeted. And so that's what I mean by target audience and stuff like that too. But let's say right, developing a website for let's say like a beach resort or something that has to do with an island. You don't need to start using pictures that shows busy cities like New York City or Tokyo or all those kind of. You should be looking at pictures of things that will give your website that beachy cool, that beachy feel, right? Like palm trees, you know how Hawaii looks, and places that, so it should look beachy, coconuts, stuff like that. So you don't need to start showing us pictures of busy cities and all. So these are some of the things that we look at while building websites for a client or for yourself, or you want to build something that's supposed to attract certain type of people. So these are things that you put in mind. Have various reasons why people visit websites. So you guys can read up all this. So this is just basically all about reading what your visitors are trying to achieve. Very correct. Maybe you want your visitor to sign up, you want whatever. What information on your visitor. So these are things. I'm not going to start reading all this, but talking about information, you already know what your visitor needs. So you try to work around making it easy for the visitors to access that information. So how often people will visit your site? So if your site is more or less like a static website where people just come and maybe just sign up and that's it, it's, you don't need, you just need to put up the information you need to put up there and then create a form where people can sign up and all that. That's it. But if it's a website like a news website or stuff like that, you definitely know that you have to be updating your content regularly. But because we're talking about dishing out news and stuff like that to people, so that's one thing you should look out for, right? Because it doesn't make sense. The user is coming to a news website and is still seeing same news for, let's say, this same news for today. The website, the user still sees the same news tomorrow, sees the same news next tomorrow, comes back maybe 5 months time and opens a website. The first thing he sees, or your website just shows him news for today, right? And in 10 years time, it's still showing the same content and all. And it's a news website, it doesn't make sense. So that means for things like that, you need to be updating your website regularly, writing blogs, always dishing out content and all. So that's about it. And then sitemaps help you organize the information into sections and pages on your website. So you can always read up these to understand what a sitemap looks like. But this is like a basic flow of what a sitemap looks like. Home, first place the user hits is home, and then there's an about, articles, visit, shop, contact menu. Under the about, there should be a history section, a foundation section, a feature plan section. Under the articles, news. So try to, anytime you're building a website, this is like the basic thing you should do. The very first thing you need to do to understand the flow. It's more like a flow chart as well. Not really a flow chart anyway, but this just gives you a picture of what you want to achieve before you go ahead building out the website. So, and that's it. That's what you call a sitemap. Then wireframe is like a simple sketch of the key information that needs to go on each page of the website. So this is an example of a wireframe. You can draw this on a paper, or there are some wireframe softwares that you can use to sketch things out. That's the essence of it, sketching things out, sketching your pages to see what it's going to look like. So this is more or less like a wireframe sketched out on paper, or if you want to use Microsoft Word or whatever to sketch it out, it's all up to you. But if I want to get a website built faster, I try to sketch it out on paper, right, than using, for me. So if it's something simple I want to do, and it's not really professional, what I do is I'll bring out my pad, paper, sketch it out, how I want it to look, what I want to achieve, just sketch everything out. That's after I've done the sitemap. And then after that, I now start, developing, putting things together, like where I should add colors and all that, and then go ahead and start developing. Or if it's something that's very professional and the client is then I'm having to deal with a client professionally. So what I'll have to do is I could use, some clients don't care about using a software to develop their wireframes for them. Some other clients care. They would like you to see a wireframe developed with the software. Some other clients are good with you sketching out the thing in paper, and then, or they sketch it out for you in paper and send to you, and then you get to see it and then ask questions before you develop. So it all varies from client. But if you're doing something professional, then you might need a wireframe software or Microsoft Word or whatever you want to use, like Figma, CorelDRAW or stuff, to design your wireframe. If you don't do that, or you feel it will be time consuming for you, you could give it to a web designer. The web designer does, that's his job while you develop, right? He designs the wireframes for you and everything you need, and then you develop the designs. That's it. So you can read up these: content, prioritizing, organizing. Very key. It's like the very first thing you need to get before you even start building your website. You already have your design, you already have your sitemap, your wireframe of what you want to achieve. Next thing is to get the content you need for the website, like the logos, the pictures, the write-ups for each page and everything, and then you prioritize and then you organize it. So this is it. So you can just read up all these visual hierarchy. Definitely you should be aware of this, right? You can have like maybe, let's say you have a heading, right? And then you have a paragraph. You don't want to have your heading looking smaller than the paragraph, right? Let's say you come here and make this place maybe H6 and then maybe a paragraph or the content now becomes H1. It doesn't make sense. So the sizing matters. Bigger size on top, specifying the heading, and then every other thing in the paragraph becomes smaller than the heading. Color really matters for emphasis, for drawing users' attentions to whatever style matters as well. Font matters as well. The images you use matter as well. So you can read off all these: proximity, white spaces, borders, places that need borders, headings, consistency. You just read up these. These are just basic things you should do. You can see this is a very bad menu. It has too much information in the menu. The menu should be as short as this. And then if you have any other thing, it should appear as a sub menu under any of these, not appearing as a menu like this, because it's just too much and it's very dirty, it's bad. So the menu should be as short as possible, not having so much. This doesn't look cool, right? Like if a user visits assist profile or hovers around it, it should show me, okay, I've visited this or I'm on this. Let's say I've clicked this already. There should be a color differentiation showing me that, okay, this is where I am, right? Even if you don't want to add this little thing here to show where you are, but at least let there be a color difference in the menu showing me this is where I am, this is the active page where I am. So that's it about process and design. You can read it up. You can always go online and read up things. Practical information. I don't really have much on this page, but things are just like an extra thing you might just need to know. Search engine optimization. I'll urge you to read about this. It's a very broad topic, but you can just read about search engine optimization on this page to understand what it means, what it looks like, and how to make your website search engine friendly, right? SEO friendly rather. So I'll just quickly talk about some things. So you know where you go to visit a website, and maybe you get to Google rather, and you just type in, let's say, best African foods in New York City, for instance. You should see like restaurants pop up. You should see restaurants pop up in New York, African restaurants or whatever pop up in New York in your search, right? So the first 10 restaurants that pop up are most likely the restaurants that are SEO friendly. They've taken their time to make sure that they arrange their website in a way that once you search, their website comes up at least in the first 10 or in the first few search results that pop up when a user searches on any search engine, Google, Bing, MSN, so any search engine at all, their website comes up. So there are things that you should do to your website to make sure that your website ranks higher, ranks better, and is SEO friendly. So that's the essence of search engine optimization, right? Search engine, when you search in the search engine for your website or any website, it should pop up that website in the results. And for you to get a very good ranking for your website to come up, at least in the first few pages that the websites that come up when a user searches in any search engine, your website must have met all these criteria, right? So try to read up all this. Very, very important. You should have this in mind while building your website, okay? You should know about analytics too. One of the good tools you use to analyze to see how users are interacting with your website is using Google Analytics. You understand? So just read up, but this is basically how Google Analytics works. So if you want to analyze a website to see how good it's doing, go to google.com/analytics, sign up. When you sign up, they'll give you a code that you will copy. Once you copy that code, go to the head within the head tags of your website. You can put it before the closing head tag of your website. Just go within there, within the head and the closing head. Just go in between and just put this tracking code that Google gives you after you've signed up for the Google Analytics. So once you do that, put that on your website. That's all. So if a user visits your website, anyhow, a user interacts with your website or something, if you go to log into your Google Analytics dashboard, you get to see how your website is doing, how many visitors are coming, the demographics, like where they are visiting from, whether it's from US or from Canada, from Nigeria, from anywhere, you get to see some of these things. That's the essence of the analytics. It shows you how your website is doing, you know, how many people come into your sites, unique visits, blah, 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 what your visitors are looking at, top best viewed pages, stuff like that. You just get to see everything. The bounce rates, you should read up all these things to understand, because this will help you to understand what's going on in the Google Analytics. So bounce rate tells you like when a web user visits maybe your About Us page and leaves that About Us page without hitting any other part of the website that's doing that appears on the bounce rate section of your analytics. You get to see people who have just visited the page and then left your website. From there, where they're coming from, I just talked about this. And then these are basic things you should know, right? These are like extra info you should know: SEO, analytics, how to identify keywords and phrases that will make your website rank higher. You know, when you do an SEO search, like when you do a search, when a user does a search for your website. And like I told you, this is the essence of the meta tag, right? Like I told you, in the meta tag, if you go back to your HTML, you should see where we talked about keywords, meta name, keywords, description of your website, and all that. So some of those things you put in your meta keywords are what search engines use to make sure that your site comes up when a user does a search. So if you go to let's say your website is all about food, and then maybe you put something like best foods, tasty meals as keywords inside your meta, tasty meals, best foods in New York. Let's say your website is targeted for the New York market, and then you put best foods in New York and fresh foods, stuff like that. You can even go their websites where you get to see keywords that are doing well. Like there's websites that Google has, Google Keyword Planner, right? Something like that. If you go there, you can see some good keywords that you can add into your meta tag, into the meta tag of your website, to make sure that your website ranks high for a Google search, like search engine optimization, right? Like for user searches. So those keywords that you add into your meta tag help your website come up as one of the very first, at least top websites that come up when a user does a search anywhere on Google search or Yahoo or whatever search, right? So if you have the right keywords that are doing well, to still help your website come up. That's the essence of things like SEO. And then the other things you need to put in place to make sure that your site is SEO friendly. So these are things you need to read about. So try to read up all these things here, and about analytics, very important. And then domain names and hosting, yeah. You can read up this as well. But let's say you finished developing your website, right? Next thing you need to do is to host your website, isn't it? So now if you want to host your website, you need to buy a domain name. You need to buy a domain name. Let's say you built a website and your website is, let's say your business name is Tommy Ben. Let's say Tommy Ben is your business name. So you can go online. There are companies that host websites. There are lots of them. I think some of them I mentioned there. But there are companies that host websites. You can always reach me if you need more on that. I can tell you more on how to go about that. So you can go buy a domain name, let's say Tommy Ben. You have to go to the hosting company and search for maybe tommyben.com. Search for it. If it's taken, that means you can't use it. So you can do Tommy Ben Ltd, for instance, limited.com. If it's not taken, you can pay for it with your card. And then once you do that, that name becomes yours, right? And then one key thing I'll need to know is why choosing a domain name. Don't choose a very, very long domain name that will make users confused. Maybe something like TommyBenInternationalLimited.com. TommyBenInternationalLimited.com. That's too long for a user to start typing in. And once a user misses a letter, can't visit your website won't open. So just try to make sure your domain name is as short as possible, right? For users to be able to remember and for users to be able to spell right. So if you feel it's very long, you can try to abbreviate it somehow. Okay. That's about domain name. Next thing you need to get is a web hosting. A web hosting is now where, after you designed your website, remember your website you've been doing has been in a folder here on your laptop. So next thing is the hosting. The hosting is where you now have to upload this folder where you designed your website into, right? So when you upload the folder you designed your website from your laptop into the web hosting you've paid for, you bought. So there are two different things. You bought a name, you've now bought a hosting. So next thing you need to do is to point that domain name you've bought, let's say tommyben.com, point it to that hosting so that once someone visits tommyben.com, it opens the pages inside that folder, just the same way you open it from your browser here, right? So once someone says maybe whatever you do, open any of your pages on the browser, like about us.html, it opens. So what it will now look like is, because all this while you've been seeing stuff like see users, blah, 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 blah in your browser. But this time when someone does tommyben.com, maybe /about us, it opens the about us page in that folder, in your website folder. So that's where the hosting comes in, where you have to upload the folder you've been working with on your laptop. So that's about it. And then what else do we need to know? Okay, that's about the hosting. So some of the things you consider while buying a hosting is the disk space, the bandwidth. This space is like, each hosting has a space. Like they might tell you the disk space they will give you is 20 gig. So that means your folder that you'll be uploading into the hosting shouldn't exceed 20 gigs. So no matter the files or videos or images you have inside your website folder, it shouldn't exceed 20 gigs. So it all depends. So these are parameters you need to look out for when you're going for a hosting. The bandwidth, the amount of data the hosting will send to your site's visitor, backups, if they offer backups, it's very important. Just in case maybe something happens, you lose some files or whatever, some hosting will offer you backup of previous files before you lost those files or something. Then the hosting comes with an email as well, email accounts. So you can now have something like admin or info@tommyben.com, right? So most hosting companies offer you email accounts, free email accounts. They might give you 20 free email accounts. So you can now create your own customized email like info@tommyben.com, james@tommyben.com, and stuff like that. And then each hosting also specifies the kind of server-side languages they offer. We've not talked about server-side language. So what we've been doing all this while is just client-side languages like HTML, CSS, and then we'll be talking about JavaScript soon. So, but some sites, all hosting companies will tell you the server-side languages they support, whether they support PHP or ASP.NET mostly, and that's about it. Now, FTP, file transfer protocols, and third-party tools. So sometimes you might want to transfer your folder from your laptop to your hosting. That's where an FTP company comes in, you can actually upload your folder, just zip your website folder from your laptop and upload it into your web hosting, right? And then when you upload it into your web hosting, you unzip it or you extract it, right? So I believe you know about WinRAR, WinZip, those are for zipping files. So once you zip your website file, because trying to upload your website folder from your laptop to your web hosting won't make sense if you are uploading each file one by one. So it's best to zip it with WinZip or WinRAR or any of these zipping file softwares, so that if you want to upload your website, you upload it as just one file. So once you upload it as a zipped file, as a bundle of all the content of the website folder, then you can now go to your web hosting where you've uploaded into and unzip it so that the folder opens up again, just as it was on your computer. Then that's one way of uploading your file to your hosting. Another way of uploading your file to your hosting is using FTP, File Transfer Protocol. So it's just basically for transferring files to your remote folder, that's your hosting, your web hosting, right? So you can, if you don't want to do the first method I just suggested, you can use a file transfer protocol application like FileZilla. That's the most popular one. That's this one. Some people use FileFTP. I've not used all these. I use FileZilla. So you can use this to upload your file. So definitely, once you go to filezilla.com, I guess that's the website, it will show you how to upload the files using FTP. So FTP is like a way, it's a protocol, is a way of uploading files from your laptop, that's your local computer. It's called local computer to a remote computer, that's the web hosting. So your hosting is more like a computer sitting somewhere, I think maybe in the US or wherever you bought the hosting from. So it's just like a normal computer, you're uploading it there so that people from any part of the world can view it. So you can use File Transfer Protocol to upload your files into that remote computer or your hosting. So you can upload or even download with FTP. So that's one thing I needed to point out. And I use FileZilla as a software that I used. That's the software I install on my computer if I want to do anything like that. But for the most part, I don't really use it except just on few occasions. So now here are some popular third-party tools for building websites. You can use WordPress.com. That's like the most popular one. For e-commerce, Shopify.com. Email newsletter, this is like the most popular one. This is okay too. There are lots of them out there, right? Okay, if you want to add social networking sharing buttons, you can use these services from this company to do that on your website. So that should be all about this for our HTML and CSS class. So I'm open to answer any of your questions. If you have any questions, please try to reach out to me. And then in the next class, I would have liked to jump straight into JavaScript, but I don't want to do that. So I want to talk to you guys about Bootstrap. That's like a framework for building HTML and CSS, building a website, or web pages, let me put it that way, faster. So it's a framework, it's a HTML, CSS framework that you can use to build things. So instead of writing your own classes and all custom classes from the scratch, you can just use Bootstrap framework, which already has some classes built out for you. All you just have to do is use their HTML and construct to, build your stuff, and automatically the classes they've created get to be applied on your web page. But before that, you must have linked Bootstrap in your header, in your heading tags, in your head tags rather. Bootstrap must be somewhere in your head tags for you to be able to use Bootstrap. So that will be the next thing I'll teach you guys, get you guys familiar with it. And then after that, we'll talk about JavaScript. And then you guys can start playing around with stuff on your own. You might get to learn how to use WordPress and some of this stuff. And hopefully maybe learn a server-side language. When you say server-side language, you're talking about languages like PHP. Even JavaScript now does sort of server-side too, but you have to use Node, stuff like Node.js to achieve something like that. And then other server-side languages are Python. That's another server-side language if you want to learn a server-side language. So when I say server-side language, what we've been doing is front-end all this way, right? What the user gets to see and all that. But now the server side, what it does is it picks whatever the user fills in into any form or whatever, processes it inside at the back end. So it's either you call it the server side or the back end language. It processes that and then maybe saves it to a database if you want. So maybe you want a situation whereby a user fills a form and clicks on save. It saves into the database. So it's the server-side language like PHP, Python, all that captures the input from the front end, from that form, and then saves it into the database. So now if you maybe want to check what the user has filled in, maybe to view what the user has filled in, it's still the server-side language that will go to your database and fetch out that information from the database and then pass it to the front end again, so that you get to see what the user has filled in. So server-side languages are like the middleman between your database and then your front end, which we've been treating all this while. So that being said, this is the end of our class, HTML and CSS class. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.